Welcome to the Intentional Life Summit. I'm Amy Nesbitt, and I am super excited to have Habits for Women guru Emily Nichols with me today. If you've read and loved the book Atomic Habits like I have, you're in for a treat because we're talking about atomic habits for women. And Emily is the host of Habit Hack Your Health, which is a top podcast that helps working moms and entrepreneurs live a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel overwhelming or complicated but rather sustainable and empowering through the power of habit hacking. She's also a wife, boy mom to two boys like I am. Woohoo, me too. Certified personal trainer, Orange Theory coach, yoga and meditation instructor, behavior change specialist, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. You need good habits to do all of that with joy. So good to have you, Emily.
Thanks so much for having me, Amy. I'm excited to chat with you.
And many people are meeting you for the first time. Can you share your quick story of how you came to where you are now?
Yeah, so when I think back to my story, it really started back in 2015. My husband and I were just living life, right? We're both trying to climb the corporate ladder. Our boys were little guys at the time. I was trying to be a Pinterest perfect mom and putting a lot of pressure on myself. And we kind of came to a realization like, man, we're just not living our best lives in regards to our health and how that was impacting, our work, our relationship, and even how we wanted to parent and raise our boys as well. So we both took a step back and thought, okay, well, where can we start? And for us, it both started with food. We looked at where our habits were with our emotional eating. For me, for him, it was a little bit of night shift work and eating late at night and having a really messed up sleep schedule at that point as well. And what we did was really just focus on whole foods for a month. It really just helped having that accountability and just focusing on one tiny habit at a time. And it just snowballed from there. We really started moving our bodies. He's a triathlete, marathon runner, like to the extreme. I'm just over here teaching group fitness, loving my life and just trying to be strong and train for life to be an old grandma someday. And then we started digging deep into personal development, our spiritual journeys from there as well with the Lord. And we really just come to realize like, wow, we've really established some healthy habits for ourselves. We both started helping people, me in particularly through my podcast, through teaching group fitness. But I realized through that journey, Amy, I was like, this comes so much easier for him though. Why is that? And as I was training women, it was just so much harder for us to be like, okay, well, I know I need to work out. I know I need to move my body, but how can I do that consistently with life and all of the tabs I have open in my head? So that's when I dug super deep into habit strategy, in particular, like you alluded to, atomic habits for women and thinking about our healthy habits differently, having strategies in place where we can be consistently flexible to make our habits stick and build momentum so we can feel our best in order to pour into all of these other buckets in our lives that are important to us as well. But if we don't have our health, we'll not be able to fill those buckets. So, like I said, I'm also a mom. I have two boys. They're now 16 and 12, which is crazy. This is a really weird season of life. It's fun and like heartbreaking at the same time to watch them grow
Yes.
up. And my husband and I have been married 20 years now. We were high school sweethearts as well. So we're usually outside being active with our dogs and our kids and just, loving this season of life we're in right now.
Yeah. Oh, I resonate so deeply with so many of those things, but I am in the corporate world on, the day to day. So I talk to so many fellow moms, which has also led me down this path, right? Of when you ask, how are you? And the first answer is tired, overwhelmed, like, I don't get time for me, I'm just like, okay, something's got to change. So
Mm.
let's dive in.
Do it.
Before we dive deep, deep in, I wanted to start at setting a baseline, right? It's be on the same page of what we're talking about with habits, because we all say the word habit pretty often and might mean different things. I'm not quite sure. So, can we start with the definition of a habit and why it's so important to intentionally establish good ones?
Yeah. So the basics of a habit is it is some type of activity you do unconsciously. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to be like, now I am moving on and brushing my teeth, kind of thinking about like your morning routine, right? The order in which you get ready, that those are habits stacked on one another. We all have those habits and we don't think about like, now I am brushing my teeth. Now I put my makeup on. Now I brush my hair. We all do that in our own order unconsciously. You all brush your teeth before you go to bed at night. You don't have to have some big strategy in place. It's something you unconsciously do. And I think I read a statistic that we make about 30,000 decisions in a day, just so many tiny little decisions. And I would guess for working mom, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So, what habits do is eliminate decision fatigue. It lets you go on autopilot to do an activity. It could be anything.
I love that. And can we talk about the intentionally establishing things? Because things just happen because we've done it or we think this is how we're supposed to do it. But we're talking about making our intentional lives, right? So why is it so established to, or why is it so important to establish good ones versus just what we've been doing and what we think has worked?
Yeah, we should ourselves a lot as women and think, oh, I should be working out. I should be meal prepping. I should be like meditating for an hour a day. That sounds amazing. And we have the best of intentions sometimes when it comes to our health. But sometimes we're trying to do too many things at once. And like I said, habits help eliminate that decision fatigue, but it can be very fatiguing making that decision to start a habit at the same time. So, where do you start? Like you said, you have to be intentional. So, I would take a step back, Amy, and think, okay, well, where am I at in this season of life that I'm in? What healthy habit, just one, is going to serve me right now? And intentionally create some habit strategies around that, whether it be creating intentional habit loops, habit tracking, and just establishing that habit so it does become automatic over time, just like brushing your teeth, or even thinking back to potty training your kids and teaching them to brush their teeth and have healthy habits. We have to kind of get back to the basics. Maybe we need a little sticker chart to help us intentionally start new habits, but we have to have some strategies in place in order for these healthy habits to stick. So you always don't feel like you're starting and stopping, starting and stopping.
Yeah. And I love that you bring up the toothbrushing because my kids are 10 and 8, but I still ask right before bed, like, but did you brush your teeth? Because
Totally.
it's not this, it has become a
Yeah.
habit. Now, most of the time they say, yes, mom, and roll their eyes, right? But for a while. And then in the morning still, I'm like, you really need to brush your teeth before you go.
Right.
Yeah, that's a building. But we talk about as women, we have to do habits differently. So that is really good to know that one, we are not alone and it's okay to be different. We just need to attack it in a different way, right? So why is that? And is there a right way we should be habit building?
Yeah. I think the reason why women have to do habits differently, like maybe you've read a lot of habit books or podcasts, like you've read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and you're like, this is great. This is a strategy. This is so good. And you go and you implement this, you're stacking, you're tracking, you're creating these habit loops. But then life gets in the way, right? You're trying to establish these healthy habits, and oh, you got a sick kid, or oh, you got to run cross country shoes up to somebody, which I have to do later today. Or, you're in a busy season at work and you have a big deadline coming up and you're putting in extra hours, or you just don't have the mental capacity to put towards other tasks, right? We have a lot of tabs open literally on our computers, but in our heads as well. It's not just work, family, your kids. It's also, oh my gosh, that pile of laundry. I still have to fold that. And those dishes, I got to do that before we go to bed. And oh my gosh, what are we going to have for dinner? And do I have, my kids' favorite cereal for them to have in the morning? And if not, what are they going to eat? We're always thinking of all of these other things where it makes it really overwhelming to even utilize some habit strategies. So we have to intentionally take a step back. Think of something small that's going to help serve us right now in order to make a habit stick and make it to be consistent. So it's not that the men in our lives and our spouses they don't have a lot of tabs open in their heads as well. My husband is amazing and does so much for our family. I just think he doesn't take on a lot of the emotional load that we sometimes take on. Like if your kid's kind of grouchy in the morning or if they're a teenager and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. What's going on?" And they're fine. They're just a teenager. Or, you're thinking about, "Oh my gosh, well, we got to make sure we order that shirt for this and they have a spirit day." We're just nurturing beings by nature. So we take on a lot of that. So we have to know that when we are taking care of ourselves, we are able to pour into all these other buckets, all these other tabs in our lives with a lot more intention and the best version of ourselves. Instead of little trickles in all of these buckets, they're able to get your overflow because you are taking care of yourself. You have that endurance, that energy, mentally and physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the things to help you get through your day. So I hope someone listening is just nodding their head, being like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I've tried to do this. It just hasn't worked. I've tried to do that. I've tried a habit stack and then I've stacked on 10 habits and it's just too much. Like, girl, I get it. I get it. We have all been there. So I just want you to know, give yourself a little bit of grace. We have to take a step back and just think about habits differently.
Yeah, I love that because when you said you have a lot of tabs open, both physically on your computer, and I'm going, don't look at my computer right now. She sees me like what's going on. But it's not just me, it's all of us, and it's in our brains also. Absolutely. And I have consciously tried to stop multitasking so much because it just makes me not do as much in that same amount of time, right? And I think we women kind of a lot of the time, I don't want to stereotype entirely, right? But we actually pride ourselves on being able to multitask and do all these different things and be able to do all the things for people. But we also need to speak up for ourselves and allow people to come in and do other things with us, right? Sometimes it's just really easy to say, oh, I can do that faster, or I already know how to do that. But
Yeah.
when I've let go to let the kids do a lot of different things or ask my partner, like, okay, can you do some of these things? Right. And he didn't know that I was setting up all the appointments. Well, he knew I was setting up the appointments, but all the things that go in my head of, oh, I need to look into these things. I need to do all these things that lead up to making that appointment for the annual physical or whatever it is, right? I'm like, my husband can do that. It's okay. Like, we can talk about what
Yeah.
needs to happen, what goes on in my head, and let go.
Mm.
So if I let go, I need to actually let him do that stuff, right?
Yeah, right. I think you're so right, Amy. A lot of times we're like, well, it'll just be quicker if I do it myself. And then it's just so piled on and mentally and emotionally taxing. And I think a lot of times, if you just openly communicate with your spouse, intentionally have these conversations, and even sit down to make a habit every week to be like, okay, here's our game plan, family, for the week. Here's where I need help. And more than likely, they're going to be like, absolutely. Yes, we want to help mom out. And it also helps show them, like, gosh, look how much they're taking on. Let me help them as well. And it relieves a little bit of that stress on you and probably gives you back a little bit more time where you don't feel guilty taking care of yourself then, right?
Yeah, it is this cycle. It's fantastic. And my kids are so excited when they are able to do things themselves, right? So it's like this confidence for them. It helps me with my time. I get to do things. It's fabulous.
Right? Win, win, win.
Yeah. So we love simple actions and mom hacks here. And we've already talked about some of these and we've said pick one, right? But what are some simple habit hacks that everyone can use and start implementing pretty quickly?
Yeah. So we have to think about habits differently. And especially, I focus on health and movement. And a lot of times we think, oh, I have to go do an hour-long sweaty workout and give it all I got. And I love that for you. But also logistically, that's kind of hard because you're like, I have to get ready. I have to drive there. I have to do the thing. I have to drive back home. There's a lot of logistics in place, just kind of like we were talking about, right? If you're able to make that work as a habit in your life, I love that for you. But let's think about it even on a smaller scale. Let's just focus on three areas, either your food freedom, your mindset, or movement. So when it comes to food, and habit hacking or food freedom. As women, you guys are probably hearing this all over the place. We need more protein, right? We need more protein. That's what everyone's talking about, which is true because as we age, it's really unfortunate and rude. Our muscle mass deteriorates. And if we're lifting weights, getting stronger from the inside out, we need to fuel those muscles. Protein helps retain and maintain your muscle mass. So one of my favorite habit hacks, I create a habit loop around this. I give this to a lot of my one-on-one clients because it's so simple. The key is anytime I'm in the kitchen making lunch or dinner, the routine is I always pop extra protein, usually just in the oven or even on the grill. If I'm making something, I make something extra. That way the next day I have protein sources to turn to, whether it be for my own breakfast, lunch, creating easy dinners for my family. It's going to leave you feeling satiated. It's going to help you feel full, eliminate some of that snacking, help with your muscle mass, but also you weren't doing a long meal prep. We see meal prep as getting these cute containers, the 3 hour meal prep on a Sunday. I've done that. I don't like the dishes that come with that. And that's not sustainable because life will get in the way. So think of it that way. Okay, that's easy, right? Well, what about mindset? We can go a lot of different directions with this one as well. But one of the big challenges I hear is just the chaos and disorganization. I kind of alluded to this already. We always do a Sunday reset inside of my program where we sit down and think, okay, what are we going to have to eat throughout the week? I make a grocery list, I make a grocery order, and I pick up my groceries because I can't be bothered to go to the grocery store anymore just because of the time. And then everything's ready. I know what I'm going to have. Okay. I'm also making a plan what workouts I'm going to do. I actually write this in my own planner, separate from everything else that's going on with my kids, work, everything. That way it doesn't get lost in all the other things for everyone else. I get some cute pens, I write it out. And I have it there as a little habit for me. We do this every Sunday. I usually do it. We go to church, I make a breakfast, and then I sit down and make my plan for the week as far as like the organization goes. And like I alluded to, sitting down with my family, be like, okay, guys, here's the game plan. You do this, you do that. My oldest son is driving now, so that's been a game changer for sure, and emotionally too. Oh my gosh, but that's been able to, like we kind of alluded to, like, okay, mom does a lot. Here's where we can all help out and be a team and help them feel empowered and help them create healthy habits too. And as far as movement goes, like I said, if you're able to find some type of exercise routine that works for you, I love that, but always have a backup plan in mind because life will get in the way. Maybe you have that class scheduled you want to go to, but you have to run cross country shoes up to your kid after school and after work for the day. That's okay. Okay, I'm going to have a backup plan for when I can't do that. I'm always going to just find a fun 20-minute ride on my Peloton to do instead. Or I'm going to stay really hydrated throughout the day. And every time I go to the bathroom after I wash my hands, I'm going to do 10 squats because that will add up through the day versus if you were to try to do them all at once and burn out, right? So it's thinking about habits in that way and consistently having health in the forefront of your mind and thinking of how this can be a lifestyle. And this will create so much momentum in your life and inspire and influence you to maybe like do a longer workout one day or try something else out. You're building a lot of confidence and you're actually changing the neural pathways in your head, right? When you're creating a habit, at the other end of a habit is the reward, right? Like, I feel good for doing this. I have these happy hormones. Then you start to crave it as far as that healthy habit goes. The same thing goes for maybe a not healthy habit as well. But if you really lean into small, consistently flexible habits like this over time, you're going to see so much more momentum versus doing nothing.
I love, okay, so many things that you
Yeah, there was
said.
a lot there.
I love the flexibility part of this because you kind of mentioned this in the meal prepping part and onward also, but there's so many things that we think we want to do, right? Based on what we've seen other people do or what other people said that works for them. But we really need to figure out up for ourselves, right? Where, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what works for our family, and kind of tweaking things along the way and being flexible about it. And then we figure out, okay, this is what I want and it works, meets the goal that we wanted, right? And we can actually keep at it because that's what we want. So I love that you mentioned the flexibility part of it and having a buffer space in our lives because often our calendars are packed. And then it's the all or nothing mentality, right? Of, oh, shoot, I got derailed here. So forget the rest of the day, or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Oh, this habit's
totally.
not working, or whatever it is. But if we can celebrate like each little piece that goes along the way, because we are making changes and it takes time. And I also love Sunday. We have like family meetings, so we call, family time where we say, okay, what's going on this week? And get on the same page. Are we needing to drop off two kids at the same time? Who's going to do it? Just figuring out what meals look like, figuring out what activities look like, figuring out what needs to be done, and kind of dividing and conquering in that way. So I absolutely love that as
Exactly.
well.
I
Planning
love it.
ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
I think we covered a little bit of these mistakes or pitfalls as we were just talking about what hacks can we incorporate. But is there anything else you want to add as far as most common pitfalls or mistakes? I don't know if I want to call them mistakes, but things that you see
No.
people
Yeah.
catching.
Well, you kind of already alluded to it as well, Amy. It's just that all or nothing mentality. We're trying to do it all, and we just always have the best intentions for ourselves. But I think if you're really wanting to make a habit stick, I would first take a step back and realize what you want your habit identity to be, right? Your habit identity is who you want to be and your habits that support who you want to be. So maybe it's like, I want to be a patient and present mom. I'm not frazzled by the week, day to day things that come by. And I know when I take a walk every day, that just helps calm my soul and my brain. It closes some tabs for me, right? And that's going to make that walk and creating that habit, having some strategies around it stick a lot more versus like, I should just walk because everyone's walking online. I should just do it. Right. Whereas you're like, this is going to help me be more patient and present. And a lot of times when I work with my one-on-one clients, a lot of times their habit identities also involve their kids. I want to do this for my kids. I want to do this for them. And I love that. But once the habit is starting to stick and they're feeling good from the inside out, from there their habit identity changes too. It's like, I'm doing this for me. I feel really good. And my kids, yeah, my kids are getting the benefit of that too. But it's okay to take a step back and intentionally be okay with taking time for yourself and letting that habit stick, but you have to really stick first, know that your habits are supporting who you want to be. And I know you all want to be the best versions of yourself for yourself and everyone else around you. It just starts with one tiny habit at a time.
It really is, when we start letting ourselves be a priority too,
Mm.
which is moms, we often, it's everybody else, right? But then we show up kind of resentful of, oh, I don't get any time to myself, and you're not present because you're thinking about all the other things that you want to do. So I
Mhm.
love that you shared and emphasized that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We always like to end our talks by giving everyone a quick action or challenge to complete today because we've talked about a lot of things, but I want to give one tangible thing that they can start doing today and make changes today. Plus, they can ask questions and let us know how it went as we're going through this week. So, can you share your challenge for our moms?
Yeah, I would love for you, Mama, to track a habit. I just want you to take out your notes app on your phone, track it on your Google Calendar, your planner. There's a lot of great free habit trackers out there too that you can just print out. And I want you to track your habit over 21 days, right? Simple action item, go find a habit tracker. Okay, print it out. Boom, you're good to go. We have some available in our program as well and track it. The reason being is okay, you're wanting to do this walking habit, it makes you, I'm a patient and present mom when I do it. Okay, I'm doing it. But then sometimes we have to take a step back and look at just the facts, not the feelings, right? This is a next level habit strategy where you're tracking, like, yep, I did my walk each day. Oh, I didn't do it a couple days. Where in the past, you would be like, I missed a couple of days. This is just not working. I was not going to do it. Whereas if you're tracking it over 21 days and you're like, oh my gosh, I did this 16 out of 21 days. I'm a rock star. Look at me go, right? You have to be consistent with using it, but it's going to give you those facts for when your feelings take over and you're like, oh, I'm just not doing it. And this can be with any habit you would ever want to do. It will help you feel good about it and just reinforce that habit to stick long term. Like I alluded to earlier, it's kind of like when you're helping your kids brush their teeth or potty train them when they're little. You're using a little habit tracker for them. I remember my son got a Buzz Lightyear toy after he went potty for like a full month and no accidents. And it was, yeah, seeing all that data. It's the same thing. So let's just go back to the basics and track that habit.
Yeah. And I love that because you have a reward, right? Because we
Yes.
like rewards for when we actually
I
get
mean,
things.
you can even create like a reward cycle. We do a 21-day reward cycle. So maybe you're trying to drink more water, right? So maybe that first week at the end of the week, you're like, I'm going to get myself a cute little water bottle to, reward myself. And maybe the next week, you're just going to journal about, like, gosh, I feel so much more mental clarity because I'm not drinking coffee all day and I'm not dehydrated and I feel really good. And maybe at the end of the challenge, you're like, well, I feel like inflammation is gone because I'm literally flushing out everything. Like it feels good. Just reinforce that. I love it.
And I love the tracker idea too. I like tracking things because it's data and I like data, right? But
Yeah.
it also lets you see, even on the days that we didn't do it, maybe think about like, oh, why didn't we get that done today, right? And figure out how we need to change our schedules or, set ourselves
Mhm.
up for success so that whatever derailed us that day doesn't happen and we can tweak our it's not happen, tweak our schedules, tweak our actions, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I know for myself, I need to work out in the morning most of the time because at the evenings, I just can't, right? Like everything,
Same.
distractions, tired,
I'm a
all the
morning
excuses.
workout person for
Yeah.
sure.
All the things that we need to start realizing about ourselves. And I think tracking just helps us connect the dots a lot easier. So I love
Mhm.
that.
Love it.
Yeah. You also have a great course that you are offering for free for the people that upgrade to the VIP pass. Can you share that as well? Because it is a fantastic reason, another fantastic reason to upgrade to VIP.
Sure. Yeah, you can grab the Healthy Habits Accelerator when you upgrade. It is my signature audio program. So I'm a podcaster, but also I know y'all are busy. I want you to be able to sit down and take a course, but also just listen to it while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving your kids, being mom, Uber, folding your laundry. And it's just me leading you through my 5-step atomic habit hacking system for women, where we really dig deep into your food freedom mindset and movement habits. I address the main challenges we have and how to habit hack them. Like, I have over 100 habit loops in these three areas to help give you some ideas of how to create your own habit loops. And then within 21 days, you have a system. You are making those habits stick. Now, I've alluded to we only want one habit at a time. In this program, I do 3 tiny habits. So we're accelerating it a little bit more with you, but you need my help to do it. I promise. We're not doing it all or nothing. We're meeting in the middle with this course. So it's an audio course. We include some habit trackers. Every other month, we have a group call just to check in and be like, all right, girls, like, what are we doing, habit hackers? What do we need help with? And I'm there to help you with my expertise on the habits as well. So I'm really excited for you all to grab it and hear what you think.
Accountability and community is huge. So I love everything about that. Anything else you want to share with our moms before we wrap up?
No, just that give yourself a little bit of grace and realize it's not your fault. Maybe your habits haven't been sticking for you. You just got to do them differently.
I love that. Thank you, Emily, for sharing your productivity tips and tricks for keeping us sane, especially in parenthood. We need these habits. We need the good habits. And so, like we talked about, upgrading the VIP pass lets you keep this talk, all the talks, all the bonus upgrades from our amazing speakers. So grab that if you would like that and drop your questions in the Facebook group because we want to get your questions answered. There's going to be a lot of questions as we listen to these things. So we are here for you. We are here to support you on your journey. We want you to thrive. So thank you again, Emily, and everybody come back for more amazing summit speakers.